It was murder. Plain and simple. A man walked into an Oregon campus and asked people if they were Christian. If the answer was yes, they were murdered. How does that impact you as a Christian? And what should we do differently? Tom Coates in the house. It's coming up on The View.
Welcome to The View from a Pew, a conversation among Christians who are out to grow their faith by asking the simple questions, the tough questions, and the stuff you really wish your pastor would talk about. Come on now, let's reason together. It's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so join the conversation. Call 244-0077. That's 244-0077. Now, here's your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, about 4 minutes after the hour, we're going to date this show because we're going to talk about some things that are timely. It's the 6th day of October in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, your host. Tom Coates is in the house as one of our co-hosts today. Well, you're the main co-host. I don't want to give Frank, I don't want to elevate him too high. But he is producing today, as well as if he puts his headphones on, like he's been told, he can talk on the radio. And we'll have to see if he. I mean, you can see him. I can see him. You have his mic on?
Got his American flag T-shirt on. I can see him in there.
I think he got that for free at a KJJY remote or something. All right, so lots of stuff to talk about. We started talking about this yesterday. If you listened yesterday, I don't know if you're going to hear, obviously, some of the same opinions, but we are going to talk about it again. And by the way, Frank, I brought up the question. Well, here was one of the questions. Well, here, let's just lay the groundwork and we'll get to the question. I'm sorry. I'm a little disorganized. No, I'm not. I'm normal. This is the new normal. Y'all know what happened. A guy walked in, a white, a Caucasian male. I don't know why that's important, but I'm going to say that it is because I'd probably say if it was a different heritage. So I'm going to say that. A white Caucasian male walked into a Oregon campus last, what was it, Friday, I think?
Last week.
And went into a classroom and began to ask people if they were Christian. And if they were Christian, he shot them in the head and killed them. 9 people dead. If they weren't Christian...
Or if they wouldn't answer.
Oh, is that right? If they didn't answer?
If they wouldn't answer, he shot him in the leg.
Yeah, then they got shot in the leg. So if they said, no, I'm not a Christian, or they didn't answer, or they said, no, I'm an atheist, I'm a Muslim, I'm a whatever I am, and then they got shot in the leg. And, of course, the president, who came on the air and just, pistol whipped everybody about gun control, I'm going to give him a little credit here. I don't think he knew that fact yet. Okay? Did you see that?
He reacted. He's got his talking points. Whether it's Trayvon Martin or whether it's down in St. Louis, he's got his talking points. And don't confuse him with the facts, Mac. He knows that gun control is something that red meat to the loyalists. So any opportunity, and you don't need to know the facts. I don't know the facts, but I know the police acted stupidly in Cambridge, right. And then led to the beer summit where he spoke out of turn. Well, so don't think that unless Valerie Jarrett tells him something, he knows much.
So, but he has yet to come out and recognize that these were 9 Christians, 9 Americans slaughtered because they were Christian. And I don't know if it's unfair to say this, but I get to say this. I bet if they had been 9 Muslims or 9 African, I'm going to pick 9 black people and I'm going to kill them. He would have gone off the deep end.
And you would have heard nothing but this. I mean, this is something that doesn't fit the media and the left's narrative. So this will probably go away as quickly as possible. Now, this was a loner, as I understand. I'm no expert, but one of his few friends he had was a radical Muslim. Now, I don't know how that plays back. I don't know that...
I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, but he only had a very few friends that he communicated with primarily online, and one of them was a radicalized Muslim.
Okay, I did not know that. All right. And for some reason, I don't know, I know the reason, they're not going to issue a name or a picture of this guy because they want to stop making these people cult heroes.
Well, I agree with that to a point, don't you?
If they're dead, that means they're never going to face trial, so they're not going to have to hide him. Now, it'll come out. I mean, sooner or later, some good reporter. I mean, if I was in Oregon, if I was in that state there right now, I'd be beating the ground to find out what the cops know, what the prosecutors know, what that will come undone if somebody does their journalistic work.
But you're right. I mean, you make him a martyr, you make him a cult hero, or some kind of a celebrity figure, even if it's in that vein of a Lee Harvey Oswald or somebody that has killed, either somebody of note or some masses. And there's an awful lot of sick people out here that want any kind of attention. I mean, we've got a reality show society now, Mac, where everybody wants their 15 minutes of fame and to be somebody, and if the easiest way for you to get that is to take a gun or a bomb and go blow somebody up or shoot a bunch of innocent people. I like what Ben Carson said. It got him on the front page of the USA Today. Did you see that comment?
No.
He took issue with, he wants to arm more citizens, that we've got too many gun-free zones, including many of our own military bases.
Yep.
Where, and of course the press is going, oh no, look at what he's saying. And of course on the next page on USA Today, you've got Hillary promising that she'll do everything in her power to take guns out of the hands of citizens and make even more gun-free zones in this country.
Hey,
I think Ben Carson's exactly right.
Hey, Tom?
I think, Frank, go ahead.
Frank, your mic's not hot enough.
Okay. What did you think about Obama immediately going into attack mode on guns as opposed to condemning the shooter? Now, had a shooter walked into a mosque and started asking people what religion they were, and everybody that raised their hand and said Muslim, he started dropping those guys like flies.
Sure.
Do you think he would go into an immediate attack on guns, or do you think he would go into an immediate attack on the hate and intolerance of the perpetrator?
Of the Christians in this country that are too intolerant, and then he'd have a litany of their intolerances. Absolutely, Frank. There's no question. Again, since this thing won't fit his narrative, it's not gonna have any legs. So we better talk about it now, because this is not something that's unlike the shooting of the Gentle Giant down there in Missouri that led to in an inordinate number of violent acts and dozens of FBI agents and the president getting to the podium and talking about the travesty this is. And, of course, then we find out that this was nothing but a young thug who was robbing a convenience store and strong-arming the clerk, and then tried to attack and take the police officer's gun away. Yeah, absolutely. It's got to fit the narrative, Frank, for there to be any legs here. And this one will not have legs because it doesn't fit their narrative. Max said it himself. If we had some Muslims or some blacks slaughtered, why, we'd be wall-to-wall 24/7 coverage, and the president would have the attorney general out with an army FBI.
Well, this goes beyond hypocrisy into sheer arrogance. When a man whose family is afforded by our country 24/7 armed protection, and then he's going to stand up and chide Americans for their gun ownership. You think that's a little hypocritical?
Well, Hillary's, she has gone even to the left of Bernie Sanders now. She's trying to, you've seen this, haven't you, Frank, that she's actually out there proposing even more stringent restrictions on gun ownership than Bernie Sanders. So that's interesting, although we need to talk about that Democrat race.
The question is, though, as many people have brought up on the news last night, any of the things that they are suggesting wouldn't have stopped the guy. He was off the radar. He wasn't someone who had a long history of mental health issues. So how was they going to stop this guy by any mental health checks?
And he'd been planning it. He said he told the people in the classroom he'd been planning this a long time. So, again, yeah, a nut job, but not officially on anybody's radar. How do you do it?
Well, when Obama stands up and denies the obvious, that he always immediately starts attacking the method of demise as opposed to the hatred and the inhumanity of man to other men that causes this. If we would start addressing the cancer and the root of this as opposed to the lesion or the symptom on the arm, the guns, the knives, the explosives, the cars, whatever it is the method of demise is of no consequence. It's what's in man's heart that's causing other men to do this to their fellow brother.
Right. Well, unfortunately, I do think that they're on the right track here Frank and Mac, you said it earlier. I do think not publicizing the name and making this person an instant celebrity is a good step in the right direction, because there's a lot of people that want nothing but their 15 minutes of fame, and if it's murdering a dozen people or somebody famous, then that's how they're going to get it. And so I do agree with that.
We're here on a Tuesday afternoon, the 6th day of October. We date this. That doesn't mean you won't hear it. You're going to be hearing it this Saturday. This show always repeats Saturday at 12 noon. And so you're either listening to it on the 6th of October or 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or the 10th, which will be 10, 10, 15. Somebody will make some big deal out of that. And so this story may have changed a little bit. I don't think we're bringing up anything that's going to change. We know that a Caucasian man who had a good friend. No, what do I want to say? He had contact with extreme Islam.
One of his few friends that I heard this the other day. Now, again, you hear things, and I can't say it's absolutely certain, but what I heard was that one of his few friends that he communicated with on the internet was indeed a radicalized Muslim. Again, that's not something that fits the left's narrative. So even if that's absolutely true, Frank's waving his hands. Frank, am I?
He's talking to me.
Oh, okay. If that's correct, you probably won't hear anything about it. And if it's not correct, you won't hear anything about it. So Mac, it depends on who does the shooting. Benghazi, we got 4 Americans dead because Hillary and Brock gave no credence or heed to the warnings that were going on for quite a while. They didn't blame the guns over there. They tried to blame a film. And if Hillary wants the right of, okay, you've got some dead students out there in Oregon. She wants them to have the right to go all the way back up to the gun manufacturers and sue the manufacturer of that gun. She's got more culpability as Secretary of State over the families of those 4 dead Americans in Benghazi than the gun manufacturers do in Oregon. But that's what, again, hypocrisy knows no boundaries with some of these people.
So you've got a guy that walked into one classroom in a college campus in Oregon, and slammed the door, locked himself in a classroom, and began to ask students this question: are you a Christian? If you said yes, you were shot in the head. Dead. 9 kids dead. 9 Christian slaughtered. Does that begin to sound like maybe the Old Testament? Does that begin to sound like the New Testament and the apostles, the disciples when they went out? Does this begin to sound like the letters from Paul or the letters from John, the Gospels, about how people were being persecuted for following Christ? We are now 2,000 years from the first generation of Christians, and it's all coming back to me now.
Does the slaughter of the Christians over in the Mideast have any impact on this administration? Do you
No.
hear anything about it?
They don't care.
No, they want to bring in Muslims, in many cases young male Muslims that are either radicalized or very well could be, and bring them over as immigrants. Not anything about trying to save the Christians that are being slaughtered over there.
Well, and of course, it's being made into a big gun thing. Well, now we need more gun control. Which it's just amazing. It's like the abortion issue. I actually heard a woman, a grown, adult, intelligent woman who goes to church regularly, tell me yesterday that until that child comes out of the womb, it's not a person.
Oh, Lord.
With the science and the medicine we have in 2015. Now, that's the same, to me, idiocy. Is that a word, Chris? Idiocy? That's the same idiocy of someone saying that if we want fewer people killed in this country by guns, then we need to have more gun control. If I want to sue McDonald's because I'm fat. I want to sue the car manufacturer because Bob got in the car drunk and hit somebody and killed him. I want to sue the government because, I don't know, just pick a reason. When we come back, let's talk a little bit about the mental health issue in guns and what we have to do to even humor the left on that conversation. It's The View from a Pew, 6th of October. J. Michael McCoy, if I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. Love this job, couldn't do it without you. Live right here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
21 minutes after the hour, 6th day of October, or the 10th day of October. I always forget to do that because this show is live right now on Tuesday, but you very well may be listening to it on Saturday because we replay this Saturday, or this show on Saturdays from noon to 1. And I always hate to do that. Now, for those of you listening on Saturday, ignore the next comment. We'd like to hear your voice on the radio today. Here's the phone number, 515-244-0077. 515-244-0077. Here's my question. Should the president come out and discuss that these people slaughtered at this Oregon campus were slaughtered because they were Christian? Is that something you want to hear from our president? Do you think as your president, he's your president, whether you voted for him or you like him or not, he's still your president. Now, of course, he would never accept this, but he works for you. We pay his salary. No, I don't say that to police when they pulled me over because I think it's rude, but I'll say it to the president. So the question is, do you think the president should come out like he did with Trayvon Martin and like he did down in Columbia and like he's always done and denounce the killing of these people? He hasn't done it yet. He's only denounced gun control. Or I guess he didn't denounce gun control. he favors more gun control.
Oh, yeah, no, and Hillary's jumping out there farther left of Bernie Sanders. Again, just to repeat what we said, the right to sue gun manufacturers if you've got a family member that's injured or killed by one. She wants to take them out of the hands of law-abiding citizens. And Mac, we know, going back to the founder, Ben Carson put it pretty well. I read the interview. He put it pretty well that the founders understood this, and he said, I own a gun. He said, I live in a kind of a secluded, isolated area, and he said, if somebody breaks into my house, I want to know that I have the ability to perhaps to protect myself and my wife and my family. I'm in the same position. I've always been a gun owner. I don't know that you are, Mac, but I mean, the point is, I think when you allow law-abiding citizens to protect themselves, and we don't disarm our military, and we don't take guns. You know, there was a security guard on this campus you're talking about, Mac, but he had no gun. I mean, there was nobody that was going to oppose this person. And what Ben was saying, and a lot of us have said before, we agree that if that person feels like they're going to encounter people that are equally armed, they're much less likely to want to do that. That's why they target these gun-free zones oftentimes, so they can dominate and they can rule with impunity for at least a little while and kill people without consequence until the authorities finally arrive. But by then, there's too many dead bodies around.
Hey, Tom, you heard the big flap over Kevin McCarthy's statement where he come out and supposedly divulged the things they were going to try to throw at Hillary. Well, what about the fact of Rahm Emanuel's first commandment? Never let any opportunity go without jumping on it. So Hillary is out there immediately before anybody gets the chance to mourn their death of their loved ones, before anybody gets to bury the dead. We're going to jump on guns immediately. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, Frank, to be honest with you, I was having trouble with my my earbuds. I heard about half of what you said. Mac,
what would your thoughts be on that, Chris?
Well, I mean, that's pretty typical of people who are silly. They say silly things. This whole gun control, I agree with you, Tom, 100%.
You can tell you're the father of a 6-year-old. He said silly things.
He said silly things.
Yeah.
That's what parents talk about. That's how we talk to our children, right? I mean, it's illogical to say we need more gun control. Do we not understand that law-breaking folks, people who do not obey the laws, do not obey the laws? If we make more laws, the only people who are going to obey them are law-abiding citizens. People who want to murder are going to murder.
Right.
That's what evil, wicked people do. They do evil, wicked things. It is a misunderstanding, and I think Frank mentioned this in the first segment. We've missed the point of this whole thing, which is that there's a real root problem here, and that is a heart issue. The shooter at this Oregon school has a heart problem, and I don't mean a medical condition, and I don't mean a mental condition. Mm-hmm. He has hate in his heart. Right. He hates another human being. Now, why he hates another human being, I don't know the specifics of why, but I know that he does, and he acted upon his hate. There's no gun regulation that was going to stop him from acting on his hate. I often think of Genesis 4 when we think of Cain and Abel. Cain killed his brother with a stone. If you want to murder someone, you're going to murder someone. Can we take all the rocks away? Can we take all the sticks away? Can we take all the cars away? Can we take any pointy objects away? And do we all just run around in football uniforms so that we don't get owies and we don't get hurt? That's just silliness.
But Chris, does rocks pick themselves up and throw themselves?
I get you,
I
Frank.
can answer that.
Yeah.
The answer is no.
I'm so dumbfounded by the question. I'm sorry. No.
I know. It's Frank.
No.
He blew my mind. He's got
it's
a
not
point.
the person's fault in this
Right.
case.
Okay, gotcha.
It's the fault of the gun. It's not the person's fault that throws the rock. It's the rock's fault. I get that, Frank.
Right.
Yeah,
The gun
I
is an inanimate object, neither serve good nor evil, nor is a rock.
Right.
So it's the intent, like Chris says, of the heart of the person who's using it. We need to address that.
Right. And that's why I think that what we need, if we need anything in the United States, Frank, Tom, Mac, you guys would agree with me, our listeners would agree with me, I think. If we need anything in the United States. We need a revival. We need the gospel. I mean, that's why it's so great that all of us get to be on this radio station.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of radio stations in the country that are going to talk about gun control. But how many radio stations are going to say, you know what the problem is? The problem is that guy needed to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, repent of his sins, and be renewed, and the evil that is in his heart can be cleansed. He can be changed, that guy who hates his brother can be changed. It's the gospel of Jesus Christ that needs to be heard throughout America, and we need a revival.
We don't war against flesh. We know that we war against the powers of darkness.
That's right.
The devil and his demons are a reality. In fact, the devil has domain over this world, and our sinful nature welcomes him in. And don't, some people say, oh, the devil's defeated, this and that. Well, the devil, even when Jesus walked the earth, still had the ability to go up in front of the Father God and petition to take Peter and to sift him as wheat.
That's right.
And he did the same thing with Job. So don't think that the devil doesn't have powers and abilities that make him a very big threat to us today, just as he was thousands of years ago.
Absolutely. And our good friend, Mac, Pastor Ernest Almstalden, Victory Christian Fellowship in Jewel, was just preaching about this today on our station, 1145. He talked about how, and the only one that can really defeat the devil, it's not me. I can't do it. Jesus is the only one that can defeat the devil. Jesus is the answer to every question, just like in the Sunday school class.
All right, 515-244-0077. Phones were ringing. We didn't get to him in time. I apologize. Frank needed to talk, so that his job as producer goes out the window because he's got to talk. So he's not going to get a talk next time the phone rings because it's your voice I want to hear. 515. I love Frank. I'm just kidding him. 515. I'm not kidding. But I love it. 515-244-0077. It's your voice we want to hear. And here's the other issue that's bubbling up over this. And by the way, the question I want you to answer is, do you expect your president, who you elect and you pay? No, I'm not a guy when the cop walks up that I tell him that I pay your salary so you work for me. I'm not that arrogant. But I'm humble enough to call the president out and say, Mr. President, we just had 9 Christians murdered because they were Christians in America on a college campus. Don't you think maybe, you sorry excuse for a president, don't you think maybe you could come out and recognize this? God, that really burns me. It really, just burns me.
Well, it's now here's the interesting thing. Our president has said that he is every faith in the book. At some points, he said he's a Christian. At other points,
to everybody.
At other points, he's essentially confessed to being a Muslim.
Right.
I mean, at this point, I don't care what the man believes, because I know that he and I share one thing in common. We share one thing in common, is in my heart is evil and wickedness. And if I don't confess my sins, if I don't confess my need for a Savior, that I'm not going to change, that my heart's not going to change, and these things aren't going to be different. And I tell you what, Mac, the President of the United States is terrified of the truth and the reality that the majority of the people in the United States are Christians. That scares him. It scares him because he knows that the Muslim world, that's why they hate us. The Muslim world hates America because we're a Christian nation. That's why they hate us. That's why they hate us. And the president wants to hide and say, no, we're not a Christian nation. No, we're not a Christian nation. Mm-hmm. And he's afraid because he himself is not a Christian. If Jesus Christ is my Savior, I have nothing to fear. Jesus said, don't fear him who can destroy your body.
Fear him who can destroy both the body and condemn your soul to hell.
That's right.
Exactly right. And he will not, Chris, even identify our enemy. We have been, in essence, at war, although it's one-sided, with radical Islam for many years. But we now have a president for the last 6.5 that refuses to name the enemy.
That's right.
How can you conquer an enemy that you refuse to even name?
That's right.
Tom,
his impotency is on display when Putin steps up and shoves him aside, calls him a boy, and pats him on the head and tells him to go play in the playground, and he'll take care of business over here. It's an embarrassment. We can laugh and say, "Oh, that's Obama." He is an incompetent, emasculated idiot. But at the same point, he represents America, and it's a disgrace for America to be treated this way by somebody like Putin, by the Islamists, by others, have our own 80-some% of our Americans that, claim that they're Christian. Now, we don't really believe that 80-some% are practicing Christian.
Right.
But this is our traditional heritage. And we're doing nothing to protect Christians that are put upon over in the Middle East and other parts of the country.
Well,
and Mac, in Oregon, if these had been Muslim, we'll come back to our original point.
Yep.
If these had been 9 Muslims or 9 blacks,
right.
we'd have had the powers that be from the Justice Department on down, and we'd have been hearing nothing but 24/7. Because there are 9 Christians, they're somehow second-class citizens to this guy.
Again, Tom, is it a concentrated effort on Obama's part to deny the obvious when they will throw out terms like workplace violence? They refuse to identify terrorist attacks even in the country when they happen. Is he dense? Or is it a concentrated, willful effort on his part?
Got to be willful, Frank. He can't be that stupid. He cannot be that ignorant. It's got to be a willful issue.
I would agree with you, Tom, and I would say it's more than just a willful issue. It's the power of fear. It really is the power of fear. Our president is a coward. That's the bottom line. Well, he's afraid. He's afraid of Islam. He's afraid of ISIS. He's afraid of those people, and he has no confidence. He has no one to defend him because he's out there and alone. And the good news of Jesus Christ is, if you have God on your side, if his banner is over you, what do you have to fear? You have nothing to fear. The Church of Jesus Christ has to be strong enough and confident enough, not in themselves. I'm not confident enough and strong enough in myself. I'm terrified. The idea of, as Mac put it on the show the other day, of a Muslim or ISIS walking into this building. We're available. You can find us. There are not great people guarding our doors. That scares me a little bit, but we must not be afraid of that. But we must have faith in our Lord Jesus Christ that he has called us to proclaim his son, and we should do it with boldness.
Well, I like what you said, but I think you give Barack Obama the benefit of the doubt when you say he's a coward.
All right, we're going to come back. We got a hard break here. We're coming back. Tom, I want to hear your thoughts live here on The Truth.
It's not very loud.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
We want to work some stuff out.
All right, welcome back. 2:38, 22 before the top of the hour. Top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News. And then Steve Noble. And we've got a permanent change in the daytime schedule with Steve gone. We'll be glad to share that with you upcoming. I think you'll like it. I don't know.
I'm excited about it.
I am, but, you know, are you excited?
Oh, yeah, hard to hold myself in my seat here, Mac.
Tom is jumping up and down.
All right. Let's real quickly wrap that up, and then I want to talk because the last thing I ever want to do is tell you you're right, because you're a tough guy when you're right, but you're right. Something's going on the Democratic side. You have been saying it for weeks, maybe months.
2 months. 2 months. I
All right.
call that. But let me complete my thought. When Chris had said before the break that Barack Obama was a coward, probably a lot of people were sitting there shaking their heads, yes, because he refuses to call out radical Islam as our enemy. And I said, you're actually giving him the benefit of the doubt. And what I meant by that was that we actually know so little about who Barack Obama really is. He refuses to release his transcripts. We don't really even know who his father was. I think he was born in Hawaii, but the actual whether it was, I think it was more likely it was Frank Marshall Davis that was his father.
Yep.
He had the naked pictures of his mother when she was a teenage girl. I think he had sex with her, knocked her up. They laid it on this Barack Obama, sent him out of the country. He looks much more like Frank Marshall Davis than the little scrawny Barack Obama that ostensibly is his dad. So what I'm saying is we know so little bit about the guy. He spent 20 years in Jeremiah Wright's church listening to anti-American rhetoric and claimed that he wasn't listening. That's why I'm saying that I think your assessment of him as a coward, it may be way too optimistic, because what I'm saying is I think his sympathies lie so much against the founding and what really makes this country tick that when he said, I want to remake America, he really meant it, much more so than what people heard him saying. And therefore, I'm saying that the real Barack Obama is pro-Muslim, anti-American, and he's doing everything he can to evolve that change. And that's why, let me come to this next thing, Mac, real quick. We cannot afford to have, and I've been saying for two months now, Hillary's not going to be their flag bearer.
Right.
That Joe Biden becomes their flag bearer, and he takes Elizabeth Warren. And now, I've been saying Elizabeth Warren for many weeks as his
2
VP.
months.
And now on the cover of one of the most prominent conservative websites, the Drudge Report, they've got a picture of Biden and Elizabeth Warren, and he's now floating the idea that he'll run for president and take her as his running mate. That'll satisfy the women. Are you talking to me, Frank? Let me put my headphones on.
Yeah, Tom. Hey, what do you? I kind of agree with that Elizabeth Warren assessment.
Yeah.
But here's another option you might think about. Ed Klein's book said that he was grooming his own little mini-me. Now, I've heard Ed say that Barack makes some decision. He comes down and says something to Valerie Jarrett and Michelle Obama. They powwow and then tell him what he's going to say.
Exactly. And when Hillary complained not long ago, and this came out of Ed Klein's book too, Frank, that she was demanding a meeting with Barack Obama, and she wanted him to call off the Justice Department. When he finally agreed to meet her in the Oval Office, who was in that meeting but Valerie Jarrett? Hillary was upset that she was there. She knows Valerie Jarrett and Michelle hate her.
Well, what do you think about the idea that potentially Biden could name an Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett as VP?
Well, I guess
Iranian-born Valerie Jarrett.
Okay. Anything is possible, Frank. I do think Elizabeth Warren was an early mentor to Barack Obama. This is one of the reasons that I started talking about it. There's a couple of things that are accomplished here. One, the women in the Democrat Party that are going to be upset that Hillary was once again pushed aside for a man will be somewhat pacified with Elizabeth Warren. She is a mentor to Barack. It allows him... See, some of this, guys, is about the control of the Democratic Party. There has been an ongoing struggle between the Clinton camp and the Obama camp for a long time. We get some of this from Ed Klein's books and writings, Frank. He has tremendous insight into some of this. And what Barack will do, I've been saying, and I still think will do, if Hillary tries to go on the attack and the Clinton machine starts to dig up some of the skeletons in Joe Biden's closet, and by the way, we don't have independent confirmation that his son's dying breath was given to run Joe run. This is coming all from Joe. So we're going to hear, there's a lot of skeletons in Joe's closet, not as many as the Clinton's closet by any means, but rather than ramp up and dirty their guy up, I think now we accelerate the knock on the door. Justice Department here, Mrs. Clinton, we've got indictments for you. You can either step down now.
Yep.
And endorse Biden and not try to muddy him up anymore. And before we leave office, there'll be a pardon for you to ensure that if a Republican comes in after this or any other Justice Department comes in and wants to draw you into this criminal wave, we will grant you a pardon. But you got to leave now. You make up whatever excuse you want, and we want a full endorsement of our man Joe.
Well, Tom, don't you think that the problem in the elections that we've been having is in muddied water and the inability to distinguish between left and right? And I think the reason why they would put Joe up is because he's the dupe, he's the rube. And then they would put in somebody as VP that the country would not vote for in a heartbeat because they would be so radically left. Elizabeth Warren or Valerie Jarrett would be so radically left that if you pitted them up against a Ted Cruz or a Ben Carson that was far conservative right, and you had a choice between two distinct things, that choice would be made clear. But what always happens is the Republicans always line up with the moderate, and the water gets muddied that, oh, well, you can't really distinguish the difference between the left and the right.
Well, the great Indian chiefess, Elizabeth Warren, would have been the head of the CFPB if they thought they could have gotten her confirmed. Now, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, most of your listeners don't know what that is, but that is the huge new super entity that controls all finance and banking in our country, guys. I know you haven't heard a lot about it, but it was her brainchild. Barack Obama followed her lead. She was an early mentor to him, and they knew they couldn't get her confirmed in the Senate. She was that polarizing a figure. So she probably does not hold up to independent election, Frank, like you're saying. But I think bringing her in, and then maybe if Biden were to get elected, maybe only serves one 4-year term. He's going to be the oldest man that would ever have taken the oath of office, steps out after one term, and then Elizabeth Warren has it for 2.
Well, that or he falls down with some illness problems, etc. I mean, he could step aside because of illness, and then voila, we get Elizabeth Warren or Valerie Jarrett.
Yeah, I agree with Frank there. I don't think we have to wait 4 years to see Elizabeth Warren become president.
Well, I mean,
Joe Biden, Uncle Joe, will take the fall for Barack Hussein Obama.
Yeah.
He'll say, you get in there, have fun for a year, get some things done. Will always be the president, but you're getting old, Joe.
Well, this is why we got to get a good conservative person in that White House to undo some of what's been done here, guys. From the economy to what's happening, in so many areas, foreign policy, our military, you name it. If we don't get this thing turned around real quick, we're going to be lost. I mean, and I know that sounds, and every election's supposed to be our most important election in our lives and on, but I really think this one could well be. And the status of our nation and the status of this country and how it was founded is in real jeopardy after 8 years of this guy.
All right, we're coming back, 515-244-0077. Do you think the president should come out and admit that it was 9 people killed on an American college campus last week in Oregon because they were Christian? I mean, he loves to come out and say because they're black or they're Latino. Yeah, I know. A little hard to hear out of your radio. You don't really want to hear that stuff. This is not your grandmother's talk show. It is the truth on 99.3. Remember, Testify tomorrow, Crossroads shooting. Noon, Tom Hudson gives his unbelievable testimony about how Jesus came along and mugged him. That's tomorrow, 12 noon. It's absolutely free. Brown bag, bring something. We'd love to see you. Tomorrow, live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, I'm J. Michael McCoy, and about 20 years ago, I went to a used car salesman by the name of John Hewitt. He had a little shop over there on North 2nd Avenue called John's Auto Sales, and I bought a car. I found that experience to be one that I had never had before from a used car salesman. He was honest, he was dependable, he had integrity, and he did what he said he was going to do. Well, over the years, between my kids and grandkids, I've purchased 7 vehicles from John's Auto Sales. And last month, I asked him to be a sponsor. I can tell you about their huge selection. I can tell you about their years of experience. I can tell you about their honest integrity. But all I really need to tell you is that I bought 7 cars, and you can trust them. John's Auto Sales, 5435 2nd Avenue, Des Moines.
You need a good ride when you hit the trail. Trust the man with the cars, and he goes by the name of Big John. Big John. Big John.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
If you sit in the back pew or the front pew, it's your voice we want to hear. The phone lines are open, so call 244-0077. Now, here's J. Michael McCoy.
All right, 10 minutes before the top of the hour, Salem Radio Network News, and then Steve Noble in Afternoon Drive. 515-244-0077. Do you require your president, Barack Obama, Barry, to come out and admit that it was 9 people slaughtered on a college campus in America because they were Christian? I mean, I know why the phone's not ringing, Mac. Why? Because it's never going to happen. He's not going to say anything like that. He's not going to come out and say that. That would mean that there's religious persecution against Christians in the United States, and we can't have that. We can't have that. Christians are the oppressors in America. Right. Christians are the ones that are oppressing everyone else. Christians can't be the ones that are ever victimized. That can't be true. We must stop that narrative at all costs. There's no way that story's going to get out. Christians are the ones that persecute everybody else. We're the bigots. Have we really gotten to that point in this country? Yep. Because that's really sad. Oh, that's totally where we're at. That's totally where we're at. And I'm just going to let you know, you and I, Mac, we work at a Christian radio station. I don't know if you know that. I do. And one of the things that we do here at 99.3 is we sell advertising time to businesses in the community. And there are some really great Christian business owners, this guy over here, Tom Coates, who stand with us and advertise on this station. And there are some that are just plain afraid to do so. And you know why they're afraid is because the victims of the Christian bullies, the victims, right? So the LGBT community, they're the victims, right? They have so scared everybody else as victims that if you stand with Christians, well, we're going to come beat you up. And we're supposed to be the bullies. Christians are supposed to be the bullies. Do you get my logic there? Yeah. The victims are the bullies, and the bullies are the victims. I don't even understand. It's confusing. The world's gone crazy.
Well, Chris, we're told that there's we're told that there's can't be racism on the opposite side. In other words, blacks can't be racist against whites because blacks have never been in power over whites. That's just a ludicrous notion, and it goes to the same thing that you're saying. A victim is a victim. A bully is a bully. It doesn't make any difference what color they are.
Right. All right. Now, but there is somebody coming to the rescue.
Well,
and who better than Billy Graham?
Jesus is coming to the rescue.
I know, but Billy Graham is coming to Des Moines.
Franklin Graham is Franklin Graham. Billy's a little old for that. I had the unique privilege today to have lunch with the vice president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association. It wasn't just me. There were a lot of really great people there. And we heard breaking news. This was the first time it was announced anywhere, aside from those who follow Franklin Graham's Facebook page and are on his website. Just today, for the first time, it was announced that Franklin Graham is going on the Decision America Tour 2016. This is a tour he's going to do in the next year to go to every state, all 50 states, and he's going to be speaking not at the biggest city in those states necessarily, but in the state capital of each one of the states. As an example, they said when they go to California, they're not going to go to L.A., they're going to go to Sacramento, right? As an example, when they go to Florida, they're not going to go to Miami, they're going to go to Tallahassee, right? They're going to go to the capitals, and the capital city of Iowa happens to be Des Moines. I don't know if you knew that,
I
Matt.
do, and they're the first people they're going to visit.
That's right. The very first place they're going to go to.
First in the nation status once again prevails, huh?
Woohoo! That's right. So this is the announcement right here that on January 5th, 2016, Franklin Graham is going to hold a revival meeting, as it were, a prayer rally on the state capitol. Now, Mac, you pointed out that this is January 5th, and that means it's outside. That's just how crazy Franklin Graham is, that he's going to go stand in the cold for Jesus. And I think what's interesting about that is we're going to see again those who are dedicated to this come out, and those that go, I'm a Christian sometimes, but I'm not really dedicated. Maybe they're not going to come out. But anyway, this is that means Mac's going to stay home. That's what that means.
I'm not going out and 100 degrees below zero.
If you still wearing shorts at that time of year. So.
That's part of the problem. But here's the thing. I love this statement that Franklin Graham made. He said that he said, I will proclaim Christ as the way, the truth, and the life. Franklin Graham says, my hope isn't in either the Republican or the Democrat Party. It is in Christ alone, and I believe his people can make a difference in their communities by praying, voting, and standing up for his truth, meaning the Lord Jesus Christ as truth. And this is an exciting thing. As we're talking about, we're seeing a country where we talked about this in the break, where many Christians are afraid, but some Christians are starting to really stand up and be courageous and stand up for their faith. It's exciting to see Franklin Graham taking this on. I heard from people in their organization that they're seeing the same thing we're seeing. They're seeing the numbers in the churches decline. They're seeing Christians kind of think, or nominal Christians saying, maybe I don't want to be around this stuff. But that hasn't discouraged the Billy Graham Evangelism Association, not one bit, because they know that in the end, Jesus Christ is victorious. Right. And they are confident and bold, and Franklin Graham will be here January 5th. You're going to hear so much more about this on 99.3 in the coming months, but that's not very far away.
No?
Yeah,
January 5th is close.
And if you're wondering, right now the Iowa caucuses are scheduled for Monday, February 1st. Now, that'll get moved up. You've got South Carolina, Nevada. You've got a lot of states that would like to be earlier than they are. And so that'll get moved up. But hopefully it won't get moved up before this.
Right.
Can we bring caucuses into December? I mean, I suppose we can, but
I don't think we'll bring it up that far. We might move it up a little bit, Mac, but I don't think we're going to see December caucus at this point. Now, I know the RNC is threatening, and in part, guys, because their establishment candidate or candidates, I mean, they're primarily for Jeb Bush, is not doing very well, and retail politics is not getting it done for them. And so they would much rather have a more densely populated state like California or New York or Florida, where you could go in there with a massive media buy and not have to do much retail politicking and win the election that way. So the dissatisfaction of Iowa and New Hampshire is coming out again, especially if we get a non-traditional candidate.
Hey, Tom.
And by the way, there's a new poll out just today showing that Ben Carson has moved past Trump 21 to 16. Now, that's one poll, but it is showing that Ben's comments, the most recent one about the firearms, the one about the Muslim not being his choice for president, and the rationale behind it. Now, I think this is going to be a problem for him, because a legitimate black man, not one that's half black, not one that's had all the muddy history of Obama, but a legitimate black man coming out of the slums of Detroit, from an illiterate mother that forces he and his brother to become successful by studying, pulling themselves up by the bootstraps and being one of the most world-renowned surgeons, and now potentially a presidential candidate. You've got close to 90% of the blacks in this country that vote for the Democrat. That threatens their power structure, and you will see some increased attacks on Ben very soon, I think.
All right, Tom, thanks for being here. Frank, thanks for being here. Chris, thanks for you stepping in. We appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow right here at the same time. Great show next with Steve Noble right after Salem Radio Network News. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Forgive somebody tonight, would you? Don't tell me you don't have some resentment buried somewhere. You do. God knows it. You know it. Forgive them, because as you forgive, you shall be forgiven. I'll see you at church.